3.
Yummy like a gummy bear.
It's the internet, you're busy. Let's do this for May 16th, 2024 for the next hour or so. Let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, Ubisoft announced a huge new game, canceled a game, and started a controversy. We call that the Ubisoft hat trick. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host to Game Mess Mornings. It's Jan Ochoa, everybody. Jan, how are you doing?
I am doing great. I need everyone listening live, listening to the podcast right now. Just put wherever you are in your life, type a capital G for Grubb, because Grubb is doing the Lord's work, setting up GB at night. Now the dog is reverse sneezing because Scout is just like juiced for Grubb.
Yeah, let's go, Scout.
That's right. Fix your sinuses.
Now my room's juiced as well from the game scent. Thank you, Dan Reichert. Let's go.
That's right. Support across the board, baby. An assault on the senses. Let's do the news, Grubb.
I also, okay, so I mentioned I had a busy morning before we got started. I am now a fully licensed driver once again. I got my driver's license. I had a temp for like the last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was going to expire tonight at midnight. So you have to like schedule the driver's test way ahead of time. I've scheduled it multiple times before and then was just like, oh, I'm too busy. I can't do that. So this was my last chance. And then if I didn't do it, I was going to have to start, I think probably the entire process over, take the test, like the written test again. But I went there and I did it. And I passed. I did pass. The driving portion, very easy. There was just like one road at the end where I'm like, this is 35. So I went 32 and it was 25. So I got dinged there, whatever. The maneuverability, that thing where you have to like, move between the cones. I don't know. Is it the same in every state? Do you remember doing that?
I don't remember having to maneuver between cones in California.
It's 5 cones, 2 that are parallel to one another, like the size of a parking space. And then one at the tippy point, like that would be right there at the top of your car. And you start at the back of the cones, and you have to pull up and drive alongside one of the cones, and then back up and go back to the starting position. And that was it was fine, except for I did not know you're not supposed to stop at all during that. I stopped to check my progress twice. Had I stopped to check my progress a third time, I would have failed. So
dang.
Very close to, and I'm like, I just went for it. He explained it. He probably said that, but the ADHD,
you're so focused on the test.
Yeah, exactly.
You're being present, Grubb. That's what it is.
Present. But yes, the proggies were made, and now my license will actually get here in a couple of weeks, 3 weeks probably.
Speaking about proggies, Jeff Grubb, I put the call out this past Bombcast for any gym bros, personal trainers, weightlifting people to send over routines. And let me tell you, the Bombcast email is flooded with lovely people suggesting different workout routines. And you know what I've started doing since Tuesday? Besides lifting, I've started taking creatine.
Yeah. Okay, let's go. Okay, yeah. We got creatine in this house. Yeah,
start doing pull-ups. I didn't know I could do that many pull-ups. We're hitting the gas, brother.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get so fucking thick. We're gonna get caked up. That creatine's gonna go straight to the buttocks. I can't wait.
I can't wait either.
Oh, okay, that sounds good. All right, I'm getting into it too. My wrist is at the point where I can now. Before I hurt my wrist, I was doing the thing. Hey, if you can hang from the thing for 60 seconds, that means generally you're pretty healthy. And I got to the point where it's like, okay, I can now do it a full 60 seconds. And then of course I hurt my wrist, so I'm building myself back up now. And I'm getting to the point where I can almost make it 60 seconds again. And that's like the sign I'm taking as, all right, time to actually start lifting weights again. So I started doing that in the last couple of nights.
There we go, Grubb.
All right.
Team 6 headed to Summer Game Fest.
Everyone's going to be very impressed and intimidated, which is what I want. I want to rule with fear, not love. I think that's better.
2023 was the year of punching down for Giant Bomb. This is the year to live in fear of us.
That's right. Exactly. We walk in the room and I want there to be an uncomfortable, hushed silence and murmurs. That's really the only thing that's going to get me going anymore.
Exactly.
Let's explain what we do here. Most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you were watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. Sorry, I got to plug my nose here. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we got a lot to get into. So let's start the morning mess with the Assassin's Creed Shadows reveal is saying all the right things to excite classic Assassin's Creed fans. This is from Morgan Park at PC Gamer. Shout out to Morgan, a friend.
Yeah.
The last 7 years of Assassin's Creed games have turned me into the sort of fan I never wanted to become. A withered old grump who wishes things were the way they used to be. Nobody likes that guy, especially not the millions of people who became Assassin's Creed fans through the immaculate worlds of Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla. I've gotten used to the idea that modern Assassin's Creed is about stepping into the shoes of historical warrior archetypes, like a playable episode of Deadliest Warrior, and not, well, being an assassin. But Assassin's Creed Shadows, the next mainline game in feudal Japan, seemingly wants to do both. Ubisoft is splintering Assassin's Creed's two disciplines into two protagonists. Naoe, an agile shinobi armed with a hidden blade, and Yasuke, the historical black samurai who faces his enemies head-on. In an interview with IGN, Ubisoft said most missions can be tackled as either character, some are character-specific, leaving it up to the player to decide if they want to approach Shadows like an Odyssey-style action RPG or a traditional stealth game. Now, Morgan goes on to say he's like trying to stop himself from like calling bullshit on Ubisoft on the stuff and like saying that they're, oh yeah, you could do it either way, but really there's going to be a favored play style. Reserving judgment. I get that. Everything they're saying about Shadows, I'm with Morgan here. I'm getting pretty excited about this game in a way that I just did not anticipate I would. How about you?
Yeah, well, I tuned in while you and Jason were watching the trailer that dropped yesterday at the end of Game Mess Mornings, and I love to be wrong, and I had no excitement probably at all for this new Assassin's Creed title, but seeing that trailer, even though it's pre-rendered and everything,
sure,
I want to pick up what they're about to start putting down, Grubb. I think fans have been clamoring for a setting in Japan for an Assassin's Creed game for the longest time. So there's already a lot of expectation for this.
Yes.
I think with what they're already presenting, I think I'm into it, especially with the two varied protagonists.
Yeah, and one of the reasons I picked Morgan's story here is does a good job of highlighting some of the things that are exciting me that they're putting out in interviews. A few highlights from the same IGN interview. Sticking to the shadows matters, and Naoe can snuff out light sources to create dark areas. Something I always like in games, and something I feel like we don't get that often. It's like, I remember that was like a thing for me. Oh, and Splinter Cell, that's awesome. I love that concept. And I was like, we're going to be in the generation of actual real-time lighting with ray tracing. That could become a gameplay feature. I don't know if they're using real-time ray tracing, whatever. That doesn't matter. Just the fact that that's a gameplay mechanic, though, I'm excited. That's what I would expect from a ninja, to be like looking for light sources, taking those things out. That's one of the things I liked about like Mark of the Ninja, that 2D action game. That's like just, throw your little, throwing star at the light, knock it out, and now there's more shadows there. That's great. There's also a Splinter Cell-like light meter. So, yeah, again, these are things that get me going.
Okay.
Naoe can go prone, a first for the series, and a rare treat in stealth games outside of Metal Gear Solid. Morgan just knows my language here. Naoe isn't strong in an open fight, similar to Basim in Mirage. There's a grapple hook, the swinging kind, not the zipline kind. Oh, man, that expands parkour. I like that, too. So it's not like a magic beam that's going to take you where you want to go. You can swing from stuff. All right. And guard patterns are influenced by the weather and seasons. Guards will find shelter from rain, for example. So, okay. I think this, like, what I want from Assassin's Creed at this point is, I don't know. That's the real answer, Jan. I don't know what I want from it. But when I hear stuff like, hey, we're considering what it's like to be an actual guard in this world, and then what it's like to be an actual ninja in this world, or assassin, and the ramifications of how like the environment can affect you, how the lighting can affect you, just like actually playing those ideas out to their logical end, that is something that gets my heart going. And like you said, from the pre-rendered trailer, the cinematic trailer, looks like they're striking a really good style and balance with like the action, the promise of action versus stealth. And overall, I'm like, yeah, I'm into this. So I'm hopeful. I guess we'll see, but I'm hopeful.
Yeah, I'm very happy that it seems like there is a vision for this Assassin's Creed game, because I feel like for a while it was it started to appeal to an even more niche crowd within the Assassin's Creed fan base, and kind of alienating that initial audience that got into it because of the parkour, the stealth, the assassinating, and just seeing a cool ninja and a cool samurai, turns out, Grubb, is enough to capture my attention. I'm curious to see how do you think they're going to lock out parts of the game until you progress with like certain characters?
Maybe.
To like you have to go as far as you can with Yosuke?
Yes. Yeah, Yosuke is how I'm saying it. That could be wrong. Yeah.
Dude, we're never wrong here.
No.
And then Naoe with seeing how far she can go, or I'm curious to see if there's going to be scenes where they're kind of in the same tableau together and like you're kind of pulling like a heist style thing together.
Right. And like you could see that being like the big moments where like maybe you get one character into position, now you got to play the other character into their position, and now you get to choose which one you want to play as. But while you're doing that, you see the other character doing their like stuff in the background. I
love stuff like that.
That's hot. Yeah, I'm like, okay, that works. And I mean, it sounds like the way they're trying to like there's a time element. Like obviously, hey, the weather changes. It sounds like the season changes as the months go by. The approaching winter kills off some natural hiding spots. And things like hanging icicles threaten to snap and fall, revealing your rooftop position. That's also very cool. I'm a big systems guy. Ubisoft, I was like pretty certain had been frightened off of systems, mostly because Far Cry 2 was like the most systems-driven game ever, and then they did 3, 4, 5, 6, and they've completely abandoned all that stuff for the most part. And it sounds like this game's like, hey, what if we brought some of those ideas back in a little bit, even if it's the diet version of it? Jan, I'm still on board. But what it sounds like, okay, so time passes, and you probably are like going to get in situations where, okay, now one character I think might be better than the other in this situation, so they might gently encourage you to switch. But I bet you're going to be able to play just about anything between these two characters. That's how they're framing it, anyhow. Speaking of Naoe and Yasuke, those characters are, I think, previously it felt like, okay, there's a man and a woman character. They're just doing that because they want to have the option, because they want to have a woman character in here, but they know they have to have a man as well. This one feels like both are such strong characters that it feels like, oh no, this is just great to have the option, and I'm going to go back and forth between the both of them as I'm playing this. Although I will favor the stealth, so Naoe is going to be my number one choice there. But yeah, I don't get that sense that this is like they're doing this because it's mandatory. It feels like this is the right choice for this game.
Yeah, of course, there's the chuds out there that are causing a ruckus for no reason.
Out there suggests that they go outside. They're in their basement, yes, but yeah, like
they're self-burn. They're just stewing in their rage over this franchise where Leonardo da Vinci is helping design assassins equipment and stuff, and also they're aliens, so there couldn't possibly be a black guy in Japan
who is Grubb, an actual historical figure, right? Yes, it's that it is funny to watch them try to thread the needle, because typically in this situation what they would do is, that's not historically accurate. No black person has ever been outside of the continent of Africa. That's what they would say in this situation, but they can't do that because they all know in this situation this is a character actually referenced in historical epics and historical documents, and so they're like, he wasn't that big of a deal, so why is he the star of the game? And it's like, well, he fucking rules. It's the coolest idea. I love it so much. Yeah.
I also appreciate the character design, where they did not design a black character with Killmonger braids yet again. I'm like, thank God. But also you're right. Both of the characters seem very varied from each other. Yep. It looks like Yasuke will appeal to maybe the Valhalla style of Assassin's Creed fans that may be able to just kind of brute force their way in. I'm curious to see how they may work stealth into there, or if he's just purely going to be combat focused. I like the giant hammer thing he was swinging around.
Yes.
And like that type of club, just put that in more games. Huh?
Yes,
give me that in more games.
Blunt damage, absolutely. And Dark Aileron says, Yasuke is allegedly historical. That's true of everybody. Everything's just alleged. Like, that's what alleged means. Someone is alleging it. So it's written down. That's alleged. All right, couple other things here. First time since 2014 that Assassin's Creed is skipping PS4 and Xbox One. That's going to be a little bit of a theme this episode. We're going to talk about like the transition from last gen to this gen. But at least as far as Assassin's Creed is concerned, they are moving on from that last gen. And it's probably the right time. When we do talk more about last gen consoles, it will be in the context of people are still playing a lot of games on there, but the games they already own or the free-to-play games, and they're fine and they don't see a reason to move on. Assassin's Creed, the kind of person who is going to purchase a big $70 new game likely is on these new consoles, and giving them the excitement of, and this is built from the ground up for those systems and those systems only, probably is a marketing point that they are welcoming at this point. What do you think?
Yeah, I think this is going to be another instance, Grubb. Scout, please, I swear to God. There's going to be another instance where I think a lot of folks are going to wind up picking up a PS5 for whatever reason, despite there being options out there on the Xbox side for a cheaper option. Oh my God. We already shouted Grubb out, I swear. But I feel like this is going to be another instance where, for whatever reason, a lot of folks will see an Assassin's Creed game. They'll see it set in Japan, and it'll remind them of previous Assassin's Creed titles. And due to timing, PS5 Pro coming out later this year, that'll be the option they glom onto. Yeah,
I think in the past, like Microsoft has maybe found some opportunities to do co-marketing deals with Assassin's Creed, and it never really seemed to be like, oh, and now I associate Assassin's Creed with Xbox. I think you're right. I think people will just be like, oh, this is the big new PS5 Assassin's Creed. That'll definitely be part of it. The other thing with this game is it requires an online connection to install the game from even when you have the disc version. This is something Ubisoft has done recently. I think they did that with Avatar in December. So it's not too surprising. People hate this though. When they got the disc, they want to be able to install the game from the disc. That's for long-term thinking of, eventually, I want to imagine a world where the Ubisoft servers are offline and I could take this disc and still play this game. Completely fair. But it's also one of those situations, the battlefield's lost. But people are out there still yelling at Ubisoft to the point where they felt they had to come out and clarify that it's like, you don't need an online connection to play the game, just to install it. So it's just a one-time thing. And yet, people are kind of really still feeling the hard transition from all physical to all digital, and how they kind of don't have a choice in the matter anymore because companies are making decisions like this.
Yeah, I feel bad for the folks that may, even if they do have an internet connection, it just is pretty rocky.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically like parts of America even, right? You can't get a steady connection to save your life.
Yep.
What am I going to do in Appalachia?
Yeah, right? God, some people say Appalachian. Appalachian. Yeah.
You and I are the wrong people to ask about pronunciation, Greg.
That is absolutely correct. All right, stick with Ubisoft here. Ubisoft has canceled the Division Heartland. This is from Tom Ivan at VGC. Ubisoft has canceled this game. The company confirmed the development of the project had ceased during its quarterly earnings call on Wednesday. In line with the increased selectivity of our investment, we have decided to stop development on the Division Heartland and are redeploying our resources to bigger opportunities like X-Defiant and Rainbow Six Siege, said Chief Financial Officer Frederick Duguay. Heartland was set to be a free-to-play multiplayer survival action shooter set in a fictional rural community in Middle America. Duguay called the cancellation a difficult but necessary and important decision. This one's weird because the Division Heartland, I feel like, had been put up on the shelf and iced for some time previously, and then they brought it back down and were like, all right, now we're going to make it again. And then I think there was a period where it's like, now it's on pause again, and they brought it back down again. Like, this time we're going to make it for real. So now to get to the situation where it's like, oh, they actually are canceling this. It feels weird, but it also feels like that's the right move. We don't need another one of these, right?
No, and to be honest, when I saw this news break yesterday, I had a little bit of a time trying to place what the Division Heartland was, whether this was like another extraction shooter, and whether or not this game had already been canceled. And I think that's already spells trouble if you're having some poor brand recognition with the title itself. For a second, I thought this was the Alien extraction Ubisoft shooter.
Sure.
Swarm, was that?
Was it just called Extraction in the end? Rainbow. You talk about Rainbow Six Extraction or Rainbow Six? It was like originally called something else.
Gosh.
Yeah. But yeah, no, this is a wholly other one. This is completely different. Yes, and this is one that never actually came out.
I think you're right. It is. Oh, Quarantine.
It was called Quarantine, and then they changed the name because the pandemic happened. Yes.
Oh, right. Did we ever see? I only ever remember seeing like the screenshot and like the title treatment for this game. Did we ever see any footy?
I think people might have been like in play tests. I don't know if we saw much beyond that, but you know, this was part of the wave of games we were getting after, you know, battle royale and extraction shooters and all this stuff. And it's like, you know, Ubisoft tried a whole bunch of different ones, and this was part of that. This is just one of those that never actually came out. So I don't know how much we ever actually saw of it. I didn't pay that much attention to it, honestly, because I wasn't too interested.
Yeah.
They changed it to Outbreak. Thank you, Hammond of Texas. That's what it was. Outbreak.
Gosh. Well, I mean, that says how well that game stayed relevant in our heads, Grubb. We couldn't place the original title or the title it changed to.
Right.
But, you know, hopefully this team gets shifted around. But X-Defiant is not the immediate thing I'd be excited to check out.
Yeah, X-Defiant, it's a weird one. I know there's people that seem to like it, and a lot of people who think it's junk. I'll try it when it comes out. We'll see. I agree with them, though. It's definitely a bigger opportunity than what this game was going to be.
Sure.
Just based on the fact that there is a reaction out there to X-Defiant, and there wasn't ever one for this one. Okay, let's get to this. Sony says they are now measuring success in other ways than selling consoles. This is from Jonas Mackey at Game Reactor. As we reported earlier this week, and is that gunfire, Dan? Okay. Sony delivered its latest financial report the other day, covering both the most recent quarter, January through March, and also a summary of the 2023 fiscal year. This has brought several exciting pieces of news, including the fact that Sony is now adopting a new way of measuring success. If that's exciting news. For the past 2 generations, console sales have been the most important parameter for Sony. But the company's financial general manager, Sadahiko Hayakawa, says that this is now or that they are now measuring success in a different way, where playing time is much more important, adding that the PlayStation business model has changed significantly since the launch of the PS4. And this is a quote: "The business model up to and including the PlayStation 3 was focused on increasing the number of software units sold in relation to newly sold hardware for each console generation. After a transition period during the PS4 generation, the PS5 model has shifted to where playtime on platform has increased due to the expansion of the user community beyond console generations. Due to this change in business model during the PS4 generation, we were able to significantly grow profits in this segment thanks to rapid digitalization and the expansion of network services." To translate, basically what they're saying here is we are selling consoles is no longer our primary business. Our primary business is making money from the people playing games in our ecosystem, wherever that may be. That's why they keep pushing PC, but it's also like a recognition of what's going on with consoles. So some people pointed this out, and to be fair, Jan, we had this conversation, I think, on the Bombcast on Tuesday, where it was like, hey, people are still playing Fortnite and Roblox and all these other things on previous consoles. That's true of Xbox, and it's true of PS4. I'll just read this. This is from Stephen Totillo. They put the numbers out there to like help fill out this conversation. Sony made headlines for the PS5 reaching 59 million units sold, which is a very good number. Sony says PS5 is in the second half of its life cycle. At the same time, Sony also said it has 118 monthly active users. Half are still on PS4, and they're not moving on anytime soon, it seems like. Matt Piscatella added to that, saying the most played games in the US are Fortnite, Minecraft, Roblox, Grand Theft Auto 5, and Call of Duty. Any console that can play the majority of, if not all 5, of these games are going to be just fine for a vast majority of people. And this is what is holding up, like, selling more consoles to these people. They have the games they want to play. They've been playing it on a system. Why are they going to spend $500 again to play the same game again, even if it looks a little bit better? It's a lot of money. It's a huge hurdle for them to get over. And so PlayStation's seeing this, and really this just speaks to where we are in terms of gaming, right, Jan? Where these games are about as good as they need to be. There's no risk of them really putting out a Roblox that doesn't run on a PS4. And Roblox just launched on PlayStation, to be fair. But yes, and really Call of Duty and Fortnite and Apex Legends and Minecraft, they're not trying to push the envelope with making games that making these games so much more expensive to make. For one, that would be prohibitive for them making profits. And two, it would cut off a huge portion of their audience if it didn't run on older systems. So they're happy to sort of just sit back and let things stay the status quo. And that is causing people to be like, well, then we're happy with the status quo. We're happy with the PS4. So now Sony has to find ways to monetize this audience other than selling them consoles to sell them new software. It's like, how can we get more money from them where they already are in Fortnite and these other places? Does this sound like a transition they're going to be able to pull off?
I'm curious if they can, Grubb, and like other titles that may not have been like the most played here and mentioned, but you brought this up where there are players still spending a lot of time whenever a new update drops for games like Genshin Impact or Honkai Star Rail, where like, you know, and being able to carry their progress from their phone to a PS4 and go back and forth probably helps out a lot. And I think this audience that is kind of sticking to the PS4 doesn't quite care about performance because they've just grown used to how games are now. You know, COD runs, Minecraft runs, Roblox runs, and that's enough for them. As far as being able to influence dark patterns, I don't know how you continue to monetize these people outside of like subscriptions and like PlayStation Plus. I don't know how you incentivize,
right? Like you got like raise prices on everything.
Yeah. I don't know how you incentivize them because if they're already not being swayed to go get a PS5 for like these AAA blockbuster single player titles, because they can still continue to play these multiplayer games. I don't know how you get them other than raising the prices or like creating miscellaneous subscriptions to play said titles.
Yeah, and it's you know, you're also speaking to an audience, and you know, let's see, Bungus in chat says, "Do Zoomers care about visual fidelity?" Like, let's think about that. What are their most popular games? Roblox, Minecraft? Like, this is an audience that sort of has a different understanding of what games should look like and could look like, or what they even should care about. And I think it was inevitable that we got here. It was inevitable we got to a point where it's like, you know, for me and my youth, it was the next system's more powerful, therefore the games will look better, therefore they will be better. And that was just how we all thought, because it was, in some ways, it was just true. But eventually we got to the point of plateauing return on investment in terms of, hey, this system can show games this much better, whatever. We got to the plateau. We're there. And so now there needs to be a different expression of how games can separate themselves. And some games like completely just forgoing that battle completely. And now we've had that for a decade plus from many of these games, especially Minecraft and Roblox. So I don't think that you're going to be able to speak to that audience and promise them much more in terms of graphical fidelity and win them over. They don't care. That makes it harder for these companies to tell the story of, you know, forced obsolescence of this system does this better, therefore you got to get it. It makes it very challenging. Again, this goes back to Nintendo for 20 years saying we're not in that story anymore. The story we're telling is here's things this system can do in terms of gameplay you can't get anywhere else. And that goes back to the Wii, and you know, when it was just called the Revolution, and they started talking about that in 2004. And it's and this is why every Nintendo system does have some weird gimmick to it, even if it is, you know, a little IR sensor on the bottom of the Joy-Con, right? Like they had the handheld thing. That was the thing that sold the Switch for most people. And even then, they still included some gimmick that they never really used, except for in 1-2 Switch or something. So they'll try to like come up with stuff like that, and that'll work up to a point. It'll at least work to like put in the marketing. But these other companies have not had a history of that, and they have just constantly been battling over graphical fidelity. So now they're going to have to find a way to begin talking in a different way about their systems, and that's going to be a real challenge for them, I think, because they don't necessarily have the expertise in that area.
Yeah, I don't. Going off that point, I don't think Gen Z cares, because like when you look at across the board at other forms of media, there's been a push to go back to like older digital cameras, and I'm not talking about like your modern point and shoots, talking about like your digicams, your cool pics of before. I helped my partner chaperone prom in Grubb. Kids were taking photos like this purposely waving their phone around to try and get a blurry photo because that in their heads looked cooler than a prim and proper, clean, clear picture.
Insane.
And I think it's because,
I love it.
And I think it's because, like, you know, they were raised playing games like Minecraft, like Roblox, where, you know, was never an expectation for graphical fidelity because they grew up with these games that looked like fudged up like Duplo and Lego blocks melded together. And, you know, you think about like other consoles that they may have been raised on where maybe the Nintendo Switch was one of their first consoles, right? Yep. And they're more used to a game being funky in a good way and like playing in a distinct way, or characters looking in a distinct art style that they may not really care about, like how I don't know, I was gonna say Nathan Drake looks, but like how detailed characters may be. I don't think Gen Z cares about ray tracing.
Oh yeah, not many people seem to care about ray tracing. Yeah, and that, I mean, we go back to PS5 Pro. That's the selling point of that. But we at this point, we've had this conversation a bunch of times now. We know who the PS5 Pro is for. It's for Sony, and it's for their most hardcore users. They won't. I don't even think they'll try to sell PS5 Pro to Zoomers or even really most mainstream gamers. They understand where that thing sits. That's what they're saying here, though, is they understand what they're doing. They have the PS5 Pro, but the PS5 Pro is not about increasing the number of PS5s in the world. Not really. Their focus is, hey, we know where the wind is blowing. We need to be focused on getting our games in more places. So that does mean expanding beyond the borders of PlayStation. And then it also means making more money from these games that are already out there. And I think that's a really challenging one. We've talked about this so far in this conversation, but just like getting people to spend more money on these games, that does usually mean, if not dark patterns, at the very least, it means increasing prices and more microtransactions in a lot of ways that people sort of bristle against. But they feel like, hey, we have to be pushing that envelope because what other choice do we have? We need the growth.
I think, you know, PlayStation has also kind of created this problem for themselves for supporting this audience for so long. If you have the option to get like a game like Helldivers 2 on a PS4 rather than buying a whole new console for it, I think if I was like budget conscious, especially in the harder economic times we're in, then like I'm not gonna get a whole PS5 if I can play this game and just have to make a couple concessions.
Right. And it's especially like you need a phone, right? That's a cultural thing. You like very few of these people are forgoing that. But that makes it, once you have that in your life, it makes it that much easier to not get a console because you can do so much of the kind of socializing that you need to do on your phone, either through games that are there or a million other apps. And that's just something that these consoles are not going to really be able to tap into anymore. Not in a way that moves something at $500.
I got it, Grubb. I know how PlayStation can not save their business, but continue growing their audience. Whoever is at PlayStation listening right now, get ready, get your checkbooks out. Just put the New York Times Games app on the PS4.
Yeah, there it is. Hell yeah.
Just think about how many people will be playing Connections.
It should be on Switch, right? I would totally, like,
oh my God.
It should be. I'm surprised it's not.
Put Puzmo on. I guess you could fire up the browser and then just Puzmo there.
On PlayStation, yes, totally. All right. Let's take a quick break. When we get back, breaking news, Microsoft has started a new studio. What? We'll talk about that right after this. All right, we are back, and Microsoft's Activision team has revealed a new studio called Elsewhere Entertainment. This reporting comes from Jez Corden over at Windows Central. Here are the high points. Elsewhere is in Warsaw, Poland, and is working on an all-new AAA IP with Last of Us and Witcher 3 studio veterans. This was revealed by Microsoft subsidiary Activision today. The firm is comprised of those industry veterans. Let's see here. Activision also revealed a new vacancies website for Elsewhere, which will host career options in the coming days. The studio is working on a narrative-based game, and it's totally new AAA franchise. Okay, so this stinks because last week they closed some studios, right? And it does speak to how these are different silos. Bethesda ZeniMax is its own silo, and its spreadsheet looks like this, so it needs to save some money to justify these other things that we're spending on these other studios. Activision makes a lot of money, and so that justifies us letting them continue to open the studio that almost certainly had to be in the works before Microsoft was fully involved here, right? Because I've never opened a studio, Jan. I imagine opening a new AAA studio, like a years-long process in some ways. So
yeah, especially with the talent and industry veterans that they're talking about,
right? And especially for like a corporation like Activision, right? I'm like, if you like leave a company, you're like, I guess we're starting our own thing. That's just at a corporation. There's so much bureaucracy, and you're right. And bringing these people on, it probably was a long conversation. Either way, though, even if it wasn't, even if this is something that happened pretty fast. It's one leaves a bad taste in the mouth, other than the game scent. It's not just the game scent doing that. And it also is the kind of thing where it's like it explains what's going on over at Microsoft a little bit more, where it's like these different entities under Microsoft Gaming all just are operating kind of on their own in a way that feels strange.
Yeah, I would honestly, I would have a bad taste in my mouth from like either side of the fence. If I was part of any of those studios that closed down, I'd be pretty salty hearing this news. And within this studio, I would also be worried that despite having this talent, despite having a vision and everything, and this goes back to the conversation about whether or not Indiana Jones succeeds, what's going to happen to that studio. If it just isn't ticking off the right boxes and whatever spreadsheets, whatever this team may be working on, is that going to satisfy Microsoft?
Yep. And I mean, those questions completely remain. And honestly, this is a new AAA game from the people that made The Last of Us and a Witcher game. I would expect that to take years and years and years. There's a world where they never get a chance to release this because the reality on the ground has changed. So it's like, oh, well, we invested in that, but it's just going to cost us 2 more years of development. We don't believe in it enough to justify that. So never mind. We're just going to close that and move on. That said, I suppose a new studio hiring people making games, it on its face, like when you don't take into the calculation of everything else that's going on, good news, I guess. Maybe put the Microsoft side stuff aside. Poland is going to be a place where a lot of companies are investing. Relatively affordable labor rates, a lot of talent from that experienced talent, and like there is an education system there that is producing a lot of new talent all the time. A lot of great people that are going to make a lot of great games, and a lot of people who have already made great games. And then at the same time, you could pay them probably a lot less than you pay them in people in California. And that's not just like, oh, we're going to cut their pay. It is the cost of living in Poland is way more affordable. So you could justify that. I think this is not going to be the last time we see a big company opening a studio in Poland in the next couple of years. Next 2 years, there's probably going to be 3 or 4 more of these here pretty soon. It'll be the next Montreal, basically. And that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
All right, moving on here. Toys for Bob's website update might be teasing a new game reveal that is coming soon. This is from My Nintendo News. It has been almost 3 months now since Toys for Bob announced that they were parting ways with Activision Blizzard and Microsoft and going independent. Since then, they have been very quiet on what their plans are going forward. However, a recent development has fueled speculation that their silence may be ending soon. You see, the studio recently updated their website. Now the only thing visible on the website is its new logo. The logo, which looks eerily similar to, and I hate saying this, Aku Aku from Crash Bandicoot games, has fueled speculation that a new game reveal, potentially a Crash Bandicoot game, is on the way. If they do announce anything, we'll let you know. And that is, it's a purple tiki mask, likely something to do with Crash Bandicoot. Wouldn't be too surprised. Is that exciting to you? Did you ever play Crash Bandicoot 4? I was a big fan of that game.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good throwback, and I feel like the studio did a very good job pulling off the tone and the vibes of the original Crash Bandicoot games. That being said, can't say that I have an appetite for any more Crash.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if like this is it builds on the concept in any major ways where they try to they take the Crash 4 and make it even more, or it's like no, it's the sequel to Crash 4. It's more of that. maybe a little bit surprised if that turns out to be the case. It's like I thought they were kind of going to go Spyro instead this time, or maybe do something completely different. I think we had a good idea that they would not have had the time to do Banjo-Kazooie. That seems like something that they would have either someone else is doing. But hey, either way, I like this studio. I like 3D platformers. I'm ready to see this. And honestly, if this is just one more game in that showcase, that's fantastic to me. I'll take it. I'm looking forward to it.
Give Crash a fun new gimmick. Give him a yo-yo as well, like a Penny's Big Breakaway or a big drill.
Yeah, and the people in chat are saying Tiki Masks are also in Spyro. Well, game developers just love Tiki Masks. I don't know what it is.
Hey, we all like a good Tiki drink, y'all.
I do like a Tiki drink, for sure. All right, let's keep going here. Midori, who has had all those rumors recently, says Nintendo is using Switch 2 and new Switch names. So when they're talking to Sega in conversations, they'll say Switch 2 and they'll say new Switch. This comes from My Nintendo News. Reliable Sega Atlas leaker Midori has revealed this morning that they heard that internal conversations between Nintendo and Sega, the Kyoto-based company, has been referring to the successor to the Nintendo Switch as the Switch 2 and new Switch. However, they point out that they don't believe that this is the real final name of the next generation system, and we won't know for certain until Nintendo actually reveals the system, which is thought to be coming early next year. Jan, my thinking is, if in conversation with Sega, Nintendo is referring to this thing as the Switch 2 and new Switch, neither of those are the names. Like that, those have to just be placeholders. Oh, okay. Which one do you want?
I liked new Switch.
You can't, Jan. You're not allowed. Everyone hates that because they did new 3DS. It's confusing in some ways, and they want it to be a full new system. If you're mad at Jan, put Jay's in chat, please.
Yeah, it's fine. You can be mad at me for multiple reasons as well. Air your grievances. I welcome it. Please. It just sounds hilarious, is why.
Yes, definitely. Yes, and Dan Reichert's defending you. He says it had a nub.
Because what this also does, Grubb, the grandmas, the uncles, the aunts, the parents that head to their Targets, their Best Buys,
okay,
GameStops.
I like this, yes.
GameStops, sorry. You don't go up to Tam looking for a new Switch, please.
Please.
And they go into the store and they're like, do you carry the new Switch, or is this the new Switch? And it's like, yes, that is the new Switch.
Uh-huh. But then you guys think about
it's right there.
Think about 5 years later when there's a revision and it's like, is this the new Switch? Yeah, that's the new Switch. I mean, that's what it's called, but it's not the new Switch. No, wait, never mind. You like that too, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I love a good conundrum based off of English.
So we're still probably a little bit away from this thing actually getting officially unveiled, but we are at a point where it's like the name, they probably have decided on it. They do know what this thing is called. So you're getting some last few opportunities to throw something else out there. If it's not new Switch or Switch 2, what do you think? Do you think Super Nintendo Switch is still a possibility?
Super Nintendo Switch. That just feels like a mouthful.
Yeah,
then like you can't say like SNES because it'd be SNES. Super Nintendo Occupational. No, that doesn't. I see, Grubb. We could avoid all these problems by saying, "Oh, this is available for the new Switch."
True. All right. Okay. You're winning me over.
How easy that is.
Yeah. They've done. Okay. So yeah, they've done Super Nintendo. They did. Let's see. Yeah, Game Boy Advance, 3DS versus DS, and then DSi, I guess, is one. How they had a Game Boy Advance SP. Yeah, but some of these are like revisions, and I think they want to avoid that because when they did Wii U, people thought it was a revision, so that was a failure in terms of naming.
I'm trying to think of like not that the Wii U or the DSi was influenced by like iPhones.
Oh yeah,
that Nintendo just decided to be cheeky about it.
Yeah, what do they have now?
The Switch Z,
Switch Air. Yeah,
Switch Air. Oh, okay. They're not going to go Pro. The Pro is not Nintendo's bag at all.
No. The Switch Unpro.
Switch Unpro. I think, Grubb, here's how they easily tell people that there is a new Switch. New Switch.
All right. I mean, he's winning me over, everybody.
It comes with a watch that you wear.
Oh my God, Jan, you're obsessed.
I'm going to be the most disappointed person.
Everyone's going to be so excited. It's going to look great. And we're going to all look over to Jan. And he's going to be bummed out. We're like, buddy, what's wrong? What's wrong?
And I'm just going to point I'm just going to be pointing at my wrist with a big frowny face. Like,
oh, buddy, it's okay. We'll get you a watch. All right, Midori had another one.
Game and Watch. What about they just call it Game?
Shit. Okay. And then they sell Watch and Watch separately.
And that's what it's called, and Watch.
Yeah, and Watch.
Doug Bowser, please, come on.
Okay, got the check. All right, no, you deleted the headline. There it is. Midori says Nintendo game codenamed Banquet is in the works. We talked about that previously, but now we know who it's being developed by. NDcube and a studio called SmileBoom. This is from my Nintendo News. There is rarely a day that goes by now that without some new tidbit of information being shared by the leaker Midori on their Twitter account. When there isn't information in regards to Sega and Atlas, they are talking about something going on at Nintendo. And this most recent one is that Banquet game that Nintendo and Sega seem to be working on together involves NDcube and SmileBoom. Now, I guess Midori never said it was being worked on by Sega, but I think we assume that. So maybe it is just Nintendo. And who is NDcube? What have they worked on? I'm just going to read their Wikipedia page here. They did F-Zero Maximum Velocity in 2001. They did Tube Slider for the GameCube in 2003. Then in 2010, their next game was Wii Party. They did Wii Party Motion. Then they did Mario Party 9. Then Wii Party U. Then Mario Party Island Tour. Mario Party 10. Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival. Mario Party Star Rush. Mario Party The Top 100. Animal Crossing Pocket Camp for Android and iOS, then Super Mario Party, then Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics, so they did a real banger, then Mario Party Superstars, and then Everybody 1-2 Switch. Okay, so some misses there. But Mario Party Superstars is pretty good.
It's Clubhouse Games.
Pretty good. Yes, real good. So it seems like they do Mario Party and then something else. And they last did something else. So are we getting another Mario Party?
Oh, no.
Are we getting the first quadruple A Mario Party, as Dan Reichert in chat is saying for some insane reason?
Do you think... I'm looking at their history as well. Do you think it's time that Nintendo goes like Smash Brothers on a party game?
Yes. Yeah, I think so. I think it's time they Smash Brothers all this shit, right? Mario Kart should be, but Mario Party with like a bunch of other characters in there. Like, you don't limit the roster of Mario characters. Sure. All those characters should still come over, but then even more. And then other franchises, just smash it.
Just smash it. I think, I hate that I'm saying this, but I'd be interested in a Mario Party if I could bring maybe the Rabbids along.
Jan, what the hell's wrong with you? What are you on one today? Are you okay? Is the creatine doing this to you?
It's the creatine. I'm in the loading phase.
He's gassed up and he's just letting it all out.
My tummy hurts from so much creatine.
I wouldn't hate the Rabbids as long as they're not as long as it's not Mario Party plus Rabbids. As long as it's not. No. I don't want that.
No, yeah, it's just like you get like the Mario Rabbid there, and he's just doing his like vocal inflections.
Honestly,
as he's hitting the die.
At this point, if it was a Mario Party Smash and it didn't have like some of those Mario Rabbids, I would legit be disappointed because I think they'd be fun characters to have in there. They could even be like part of the boards, like being the mischievous characters on the boards and stuff. That could be fun. Also all the other characters, Link and Zelda and Animal Crossing characters and stuff like that.
I think like the Animal Crossing characters would fit in incredibly well into a Mario Party game. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'd be interested in a new Mario Party. Oh, Grubb.
Good job, Jan.
They have to go with the new Switch because then, just like New Super Mario Brothers, that's just how they tagline everything
New
now.
Mario Party?
This is New Mario Party.
The last Mario Party went bad. This is a new one, everybody. Man, Clubhouse Games is so good. Everyone makes fun of me for liking that game so much, and they're wrong. I'm right.
They're dead wrong.
They're dead wrong.
Yeah. Mario Party Island Tour. I don't. Oh, okay, that was a 3DS joint.
3DS one. The Mario Parties on handhelds always were weird to me. I'm like, I don't have friends to have their own system. We could get a link cable. Are you insane? Whatever. All right. PlayStation 2 emulated Star Wars: The Clone Wars has been listed on the PlayStation Store. That's notable for a reason we'll get into. This is from Sal Romano over at Gematsu. Shout out to Sal. A PlayStation Store listing picked up by PlayStation Store price tracker PS Deals has revealed Star Wars: The Clone Wars to be the first new PlayStation 2 emulated 2 title to come to PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4 since 2019. Its release date is listed as June 11th. It will likely be available as part of the June wave of classic catalog titles for PlayStation Plus subscribers. Unlike previous PlayStation 2 on PlayStation 4 title releases, Star Wars, and that's like in quotes, that's what they're called, PlayStation 2 on PlayStation 4. Star Wars: The Clone Wars will be available in both PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4 versions and offer new features such as up-rendering, rewind, quick save, and custom video filters. The PlayStation Store listing has more details. But for one, I like this game, Jan. I think The Clone Wars was a pretty decent game from that era. And then also, it's a good sign that Sony is beginning, restarting the machine of doing emulation work on new games from the PS2 era. That could unlock a lot more cool stuff finally coming to PS5.
God, in the same way that Dan and Mike have like a fondness for collecting older games, I've been thinking about doing the same with PS2 games, even though at this point you could easily emulate PS2 games.
Oh, sure.
I just want the jank. I just want to boot up that thing for real. I want like the PS2 Slim and just opening up that clamshell, baby, just slapping a disc in. Ooh, baby. There's you want to talk about a game library that hasn't really been tapped? The PS2, Grubb.
Yeah, it's so big that even when they do tap it, they haven't tapped it, right? Like there's so much more in their hills for them to mine. This is it's the kind of thing where it's like, okay, good start. You have broken the seal. I expect this to be like now a barrage of releases for PlayStation Network, for PlayStation Plus going forward. I want to see all these things up there ready to go. So yeah, I guess I've just agreed in chat that we can try to do the portable Mario Party games over Parsec.
Why you already let him release smells inside of your house?
I was bound to that by the agreement of the curse of Blight Club. So that's just how it goes sometimes.
Oh no, crap! Yeah. Portable Mario Parties, parentheses Parsec. Dan Reichert added to Giant Bomb production Asana.
Oh, it's real. Now it's real. Now I hate it. When you put it like that, now everyone at fandom can see that. I heard something pop in my notifications, and I was like, it's probably that. But I'm like, no, like Emma and Backler are talking in Slack. I'm like, it's probably there. Maybe it was just them talking. Oh shit! We taught him how they taught him how to use Asana earlier this week, and this is the price we pay.
Oh God, I'm glad that Dan still asks me to make calendar invites for stuff.
Yeah,
because otherwise, he would just put us on calendars.
Oh,
for
we'd
things.
be done. We'd be doomed without a doubt.
Oh.
All right, a couple more stories here. Let's hit these. More Xbox games are reportedly coming to PS5 as part of Microsoft's Latitude project. This is from Tom Ivan at VGC. Okay. More, yeah, it makes sense, right? You're going to, instead of going up and down, Latitude is up and down, so maybe because longitude's sideways, so whatever. More first-party Xbox games are reportedly in development for PlayStation 5, while it already had a strong foothold on rival platforms thanks to perennial bestsellers Call of Duty and Minecraft. Xbox recently announced plans to bring additional titles to PlayStation and Nintendo Switch, starting with Pentiment, Hi-Fi Rush, Sea of Thieves, and Grounded. According to a new report from Windows Central, this new multi-platform push is codenamed Latitude internally. And here's the quote. More upcoming Microsoft-owned games slated for PlayStation are already being developed, the site claimed. At least for now, they're potentially obvious games you'd most likely expect. However, nothing should be ruled out, the report's author added. Basically, there is no red line. I bet there is like a hazy line of like if we were to put like Halo on these other systems, we got to have a plan to how to talk about that and how to explain it and be prepared. But like a hard and fast like wall, like for me, when I say red line, I'm always like, every red line I've ever heard about, it's always been crossed. Like every time, like Biden's like, here, we got a red line. Someone crosses it. Like, well, we're thinking about it. It's like, okay. So it's that kind of red line, if anything. But overall, everything is on the table, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Not surprising, right?
No. I think this has been the future that we're heading to at this point, where Microsoft and Sony are just straight up becoming publishers and hitting as many platforms as they can. It seems like at least Microsoft has a little bit of a better understanding with it, rather than PlayStation, where, you know, they're locking out hundreds and thousands of players across the world. I don't know why I'd be interested in Microsoft Flight Simulator heading to PS5 with an option for PSVR 2.
Yeah,
because that's a neat helmet. That's a good headset. It had like head tracking while you're flying there, playing perhaps. Oh God, you zoning out on a flight to Maui, Grubb.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Yeah.
There is a little bit more color here. While you know, Jez and there's like suggesting that there is no red line. There is one now-ish, but it sounds like the way things are going, Satya Nadella and Amy Hood, Microsoft CEO and CFO, they want to basically remove that red line. It all revolves around Satya Nadella and CFO Amy Hood's mandate to increase every department's margins. And so they are pushing for a no red line move so that every game can definitely come to PlayStation. That's what we're talking about. Like, yeah, there's some sort of line, and the color of it is changing all the time. So we'll see. Real quick, last couple of things here. I did not add that last one. Former Rockstar lead Dan Houser's new studio is working on a third-person action adventure game. This comes from Alex Hopley at Game Reactor. Dan Houser, Rockstar co-founder and former Grand Theft Auto lead, founded his new studio, Absurd Ventures, last year. Now, as per a job listing for a lead game designer, we know what kind of game the studio is working on. According to the listing, Absurd Ventures is working on an open-world action-adventure game. A lot of games fit that bill, but there's also a focus on third-person and combat across a variety of game modes. Not too surprising. Sounds like something like the kind of person who made Grand Theft Auto, the kind of game they would make, right?
Yeah. I'm curious. We're probably not going to see this game for who knows how long, Grubb.
Oh yeah.
But I'm excited at the prospect of this dropping. In 12 years. Yeah,
and it's the kind of thing where when we talk about the changing landscape of game investment, that doesn't apply here. Every investor would jump at the opportunity to be involved in the person that oversaw Grand Theft Auto and Grand Theft Auto Online, although the Housers kind of not super involved in Grand Theft Auto Online until it was a success,
sure.
at least as far as I understand it. But either way, investors don't care about that. They don't care about the details. They're idiots. So they're just like, oh, big name, from a big game, making their next thing. Let me invest. They would be able to fund this for 12 years, Jan, if that's what it takes. So, yeah.
I'm curious if Dan Houser is at all... Does he feel? Do you think he feels like this needs to be like AAA in terms of like graphical quality and scale and budget, or could he just make like a scaled down game in terms of like graphics and stuff, but still have that like gripping gameplay and story?
Yeah, Jan, that is the question, right? Because so they have a social media presence, and when they tweet stuff, it is like kind of abstract and weird. And I wonder if they think maybe by the time this game comes out, they could have sort of a punk rock aesthetic, something that isn't like trying to be photorealistic and mainstream, and that could play really well. And yet at the same time, if you're spending a lot of money on a project and that's going to take 5 to 6 years to create, and it's going to have a AAA scope, the safest option is photorealistic cutting edge graphics. And I don't know. I mean, but maybe they have the confidence to forego that and say, no, we know better. And I kind of hope that's the route they go. That would be more interesting to me at this point, but we'll see. If I had to place my money down though, Jan, I think they're like, no, this needs to look like a AAA game as well as be one.
You think it's going to involve crime at all?
Yes, I think it will involve crime. I think crime is like such a weird video game genre, but it is a video game genre because it's like it creates such the opportunity for you to just go do your own thing, create your own stories, because you get to there's some rules and you can break them, and then some stuff will happen, and emergent storytelling can happen so well when it's a crime-based game. All right, finally, and I guess God added this, Final Fantasy 14 meets Mountain Dew, baby. This is from Turbo Sean at Giant Bomb via Nova Crystallis. And
Who taught him how to make a rundown?
I don't know. We've messed up. In today's letter from the producer presentation, the Final Fantasy 14 team went over a variety of changes and updates arriving in and leading up to the 7.0 patch and new Dawn Trail expansion in July. Following expected details on jobs and the graphical overhaul coming to the game was the announcement that the Fall Guys collaboration will be returning, and a new cool, crisp, and refreshing crossover for capital G gamers in the US of A will be running from May 16th to July 14th. Enter codes found under the caps of specially marked Mountain Dew, because it's MTN Dew, products to receive points. Redeem points for rewards, including in-game items like the new Mountain ZU mount, Mountain Space ZU mount, and sparkling citrus refreshment consumables. And then in this image, I believe that is a Final Fantasy producer holding up a bottle of Mountain Dew. So we've done it, everybody.
This is how you do ads and games.
How you do the Dew as well, yes.
I hate Mountain Dew. I never seek it out, but now I'm mildly curious.
Mildly curious too. Why are we so susceptible to marketing, Jan? Why are we like this?
Because we're pawns in the game of capitalism.
I grew up watching every commercial. My body's 85% Nickelodeon commercials. This is just how I am. I can't help it.
What's next? Final Fantasy 14 presents the Magic Eraser with Mr. Clean. You get a bald hat.
The Magic Eraser, incredible. All right. Hey, so that's happening. Get your Mountain Zoo mount in Final Fantasy 14. I don't fucking know. Nova Crystallis. All right.
My God.
Poll question's loading right now, everybody. Give me a second. And we'll get to that. There it is. I'm going to bring it up for everybody. All right. What Resident Evil do you want to be remade next? Let's see here. 19% said they want Resident Evil 5 to be remade next. 32% say they want Resident Evil 1. So not quite twice as many, but a little bit more than 50% more want that. And then 49%, almost half of all respondents of the 2.5 thousand people who voted, say they want Resident Evil Code Veronica to be remade next. Jan, do you think, because the rumor right now is they're doing 1.
Yeah.
Do you think that they can get, it's Capcom, they might just jump right to 5? But it would be a missed opportunity, it seems like, to not just give Code Veronica a chance after 1, right?
100%. I feel like Code Veronica is due for some love. There's probably a lot of the modern Resident Evil fan base that never got the chance to check out Code Veronica for assorted reasons. Let's circle back to that. Let's give it the RE2 remake love. It's not like we haven't already seen remakes for Resident Evil 1.
Yep.
There was an interesting thought that dropped when you and Jason were talking about the story yesterday about in the open world that is maybe Resident Evil 9.
Correct.
What if there's just a mansion? What if it's just the RE mansion?
Yep.
And it's like, okay, I can get down with that.
Or even just like, being in a world that's just the mansion's right over there, and then that game exists. Yeah, something like that. That would be cool. Either way, but we know they're building on what they've done before, what's coming next. They want to have everything sort of interlinked, so everyone feels like a huge investment into this franchise. So yeah, if they're doing 1, they'll probably do it right, and they'll make it worth everyone's time. And of course, I'm an old man, so tank controls really don't bother me.
No.
But I see in chat a couple times now, people are like, "Oh, those old controls." I'm like, "Oh yeah, you would hate that. Of course you would. It was worse. Like it was worse. It was like it created some cool opportunities for a survival horror game because you felt like cumbersome, and so when you saw a zombie, you felt like, oh, they could get me because I'm just struggling to get away. And again, I like that. But you would have to completely remake that game to make it in such a way that you could do a new control scheme and still maintain that sense of danger. And sounds like that's exactly what they're going to do.
I mean, that's how we used to move back in those times.
Right, exactly. Things used to be black and white. Yeah, we saw the world in 420 or 480p, excuse me, and also 420p, if you know what I mean. And and then yes, we had tank controls. All right, I got a new poll question. We'll get to that here in a moment. In the meantime, Jan, what do we have happening on giantbomb.com?
An hour after Game S Mornings wraps, we are going to attempt to do Elden Ring co-op.
It's looking good. It's looking promising.
I got it downloaded, got to install that zip, and we should be good to go. That's going to have Grubb, myself, Nikki, and Dan checking that out. And then voicemail dump truck later today, Game S Mornings tomorrow. And on Professional Fridays, where we're going to be checking out the co-op mode in Ghost of Tsushima.
Ooh,
and then
we're
doing a Power Bomb cast tomorrow as well, featuring our friend from TV Guide, GameSpot, Chris Hayner.
Oh, fun.
Also,
I didn't know that.
The WrestleMania video is in its final stages of QA.
It's looking good. Looking real good. A beefy video, everybody. All right. What are we looking at here? New poll question. Are you excited about Assassin's Creed Shadows? Yes or no? That's all I'm wondering. We'll discuss it here on Game S Mornings tomorrow on giantbomb.com. One more time, speaking of Giant Bomb, tune back in about an hour from now if you're watching live for our playthrough of Elden Ring. Seamless multiplayer. We got the mod ready to go. Be a lot of fun. And if you're watching later, thank you for watching. There's plenty more stuff on the YouTube channel, plenty more stuff on giantbomb.com. If you do go to the YouTube channel, the live tab is what you're looking for. That's where most of our stuff lives. Check that out. All right, Jan, thank you so much for speaking with me today about video games, man. I really appreciate it.
It's the only way to start a Thursday, Grubb.
That's damn right. Until next time, everyone, you're the best audience in gaming. Have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.